Strong Dads wants to thank 4Speed on 50 for sponsoring today's show. If you like classic cars, great food, and a taste of Americana, you have to visit 4Speed on 50's Diner, located on Route 50 in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Stop in today for a meal and an experience you won't soon forget at 4Speed on 50's Diner. Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merle Hutchinson alongside Carl Landry. Carl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I think we're both doing a little bit better than we have been. You had a major cold. I had the flu.
Yeah.
You had pneumonia.
Yeah,
so.
mine have. I took a lot of different pathways.
Yeah.
I
You're sounding
still
a
have
lot
some
better.
residual though.
Yeah, I missed you.
If I start coughing,
Yeah.
I'll
have to edit.
go down that road. Yeah.
But I did miss you the last show, but I did manage to fill in.
You did fine. You did. Well, I think what was funny about that show, you're like, well, I don't know how long I'll go or whatever. I'm like, well, go whatever. And I'm up there kind of waiting. I'm like, 20 minutes,
Well,
30 minutes. You're knocking on 50 minutes.
I could have gone on. When it comes to talking
Yeah.
about money and money management, I can go on and on and on.
Well, we had some guys comment. Thanks. I needed to hear that show, so that's good. And if any of you guys, the whole, why don't you hit real fast a plug on your financial piece that you're going to be teaching?
Well, we're coming up here February 23rd. This is 2025, in case you're watching this in the future. The class is filling up. If you want to take financial peace, go to brightcc.org and sign up. And I'll just say it is filling up, and it changes lives. I've done this for, starting 25 years ago. I've had a little hiatus here where some other people taught it for a couple years. But if you want to get control of your finances, go sign up.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've sent a few people your way already, so hopefully they'll benefit from that and continue to help people in that way. Hey, let's thank our sponsors.
Yep.
And then we got a great topic today.
We got a very timely topic.
Yeah. So we want to thank our sponsors, Quality Auto Mart, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and 4Speed on 50 Diner. We want to thank those guys just for getting behind the messaging here at Strong Dads as well as Rock Solid Families. If you're doing any work with them or the owners of those companies, thank them. Thank them for just their willingness to. And I wouldn't go so far as to put their neck out there, but sometimes they don't know. They don't know exactly what we're going to talk about.
No.
And the idea that they're willing to
Turn us
support
loose. Yeah.
what we do. So thank those guys and do some business with them and help them out. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll just put a plug in here. This show may save your life. I really believe that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, let's open that door a little bit. So we are going to talk. It's the first time I've talked about this topic on this show over all these years. We're going to talk about. I'll call it the latest craze, right?
It's been out there for a while, but it is a big craze right now.
Yeah, but the whole low testosterone thing. And so we're talking to Strong Dads, you ladies. I know we got some ladies out there that listen. I don't know, maybe you'll find some of this interesting, but we are definitely talking to men today and maybe to the wives that maybe need to feed the message to the man. But we're going to talk about low testosterone. And we have some personal experience, and I don't want you take your story however you want to. I'll start a little bit with my story. Okay, just so that I'll break the ice on it. I'm 61. And
a good 61, I might say.
Hanging in there. 61, and I was in my late 40s. Before we start recording, we were talking about working out and exercising and stuff. And I've always been a cyclist. And I was in my late 40s, and one particular summer, I was not feeling good through that summer. And when I say not feeling good, it wasn't like I was sick. It's just like I always use the word mojo. Like, where's my mojo, right? Like, I got nothing. I got nothing. And because I'm a cyclist, I know I have about probably, for sure, 5 routes that I ride on a pretty regular basis. And I can tell you down to the minute about where I should be coming across.
Those points.
And that particular summer, I was off on everything. But what concerned me more was I didn't even care.
Lethargy.
Yeah, like
apathy.
Because my brain said it's summer, you need to get on your bike and get your rides in. But my heart didn't feel it. My desire did not feel it. And I was like, I'm just in a slump. And so that was the thing that initiated my thought, like something's up. Then something past that happened. I'm between Linda and I would be the creative one, right? I would be the dreamer one. And she'd always like, oh no, there he goes dreaming again, right? Because you never know what that could produce.
Yeah, look out. He's thinking again.
He's thinking. And I stopped dreaming.
Oh.
I stopped dreaming. I stopped thinking about, oh, what about this project? What about trying this? I stopped doing that. And that, like, I consciously was like, where are my dreams? Where did that go? And so I coupled that with, okay, I don't have any energy. I don't have any bursts of strength. I'm not dreaming. And then I'm now moving into the fall of that year. And we are, the sun's setting earlier.
Yeah.
And the winter thing is kind of coming on.
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder.
It hit me like it had never hit me. I'm getting to finish with dinner at 6:30 at night. And I'm like, can I just go to bed now? Normally, I'm going to do an evening sort of thing, right? Work on something, do something, whatever. And it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And I'm like, I wonder if Linda would mind if I just laid in the recliner here and just was done for the night.
Yeah.
And so coupling all those together, I started thinking something, okay, like this is not me. And so that prompted me. And again, I'm read enough to know about testosterone and stuff just with my background. I said, this like is low testosterone stuff, but I'm only 46 or 47 years old. How can that be?
Which is, real quick, there is a trend out there among males in this country, in the Western civilizations, that is testosterone levels are plummeting.
Yeah, at earlier ages.
At earlier ages. Yeah. Guys at 40 years of age have got the testosterone levels of what the previous generation had at 60 and 70.
Yeah.
So there's a phenomenon going on, a disease, if you will, in the culture. So go ahead.
Yeah. And so I finally said, I'm going to go get this checked out. And we're going to talk a little bit about these numbers just so you guys can have reference points. This is not an advertisement
We're not
for or
either.
against. No, not at all. This is an experience.
Personal.
And a conversation to maybe be
what
had.
We've learned.
Yeah. And I went to an endocrinologist. Back then, I don't know that there was a low T clinic, right? Like
they
you
weren't.
see everywhere. I went to an actual endocrinologist, and he wasn't like super big on, in fact, he was very reserved. And I did my first test, and he looked at that time, total testosterone levels. And back then, I know I've seen little variations in numbers, but the range was between, I'm going to get this right, 200 and 800 was the range that he wanted us in.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine was at 300.
You know what? I'm saying the bottom side was 300. 300 to 800. 300 to 800. Yeah. And my first test came back, and I was at 180. And I was like, oh, so what's that mean, Doc?
Yeah, that's bad.
What's that mean?
Yeah.
He's like, well, that's low.
Yeah.
I said, well, what do we do with that? And he's like, well, we don't do anything with that. In order for us to even make a move, we'll do 3 tests. And I forget now, every 2 weeks apart or whatever it was, And so I did another one, and it came back like all 3 tests, I was 160, 170, 180 is what I came back in.
Your doctor, from what you and I have talked about this, was far more, and I did low T therapy, we'll talk about that, far more diligent. I'll tell Mike side of that. You'll be surprised, but this is new to me, what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and they did 3 tests. He
did 3, and I kind of bombed out on all 3. And then I'm ignorant about the whole process of replacement. I've just not studied that, and I didn't think I ever had a reason to do that. And I said, so what do we mean? And he was like, well, this is kind of a big deal, because if we start replacing, kind of like once you go there, you don't go back.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's lots of things that we have to monitor in terms of, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but getting the levels in the right place and whatever. And so I have gone to that replacement therapy. Okay. Over the years, I've learned to tweak it. I've worked with the doctors. And I don't mess with it. Like, I'm not like, well, hey, this
maybe I can do a little bit more
a little
juice.
is good. Like, I don't do that at all. I'm really good with trying to find the center range that my doctor's good with and I'm good with, and I do it for health reasons. But let me just go back. Why did this even happen? I'm a young guy who works out. It was my mindset.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Why did this even happen? And so, anyway, that's a little bit of my story. We'll talk a little bit about other parts of that. But anyway, that's mine.
Yeah. I remember you came to my house and I actually showed you how to do the injections.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not a pusher or anything like that. Mine was completely different, though. I mean, it really was, 2010, 2000. I can't remember when it was. I went to the doctor. I said pretty much the same thing, kind of lethargic, it's just things weren't, I'm not 20 years old again.
Right.
That's part of the natural aging process, which we try to fight. So he said, well, let's measure. And then back then, it was really coming on. It was just kind of like this, the latest grade. I look at different phases. There's right now this drug that they're shooting for weight loss. It's a big fad right now. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Always makes me a little nervous when I see those kind of things. But anyway, I went to the doctor and he said, well, let's test your testosterone. It came back around 290.
Okay.
So he said, you're a little low. Sent me to an endocrinologist, and she showed me how to shoot testosterone.
Just like that.
That
off
was
of
it.
One test. Yeah.
That was it. And it started off, and I can't ever remember the numbers. Start with one. What is it? 1
milliliter.
Yeah. You'd think after all the years that I did it I did it till 2018, 2017. That I would know what that meant, but we hit it, and they did the test to follow up. Mm-hmm. It shot way up. I mean, it was way up, and so they said we got to cut that back to 0.5. So that's what I stayed on. But my doctor did not monitor me like yours, and I've heard this. So it was basically here's your prescription. You get your syringes, you get your little vials, and you go home and do it. I did it because the cream seemed to be too much. I didn't like the aspect of it being exposed if you're around kids or your wife or anything, and just putting it on daily. So it was just easy to do the shot.
Yeah.
But what it did for me apparently is it creates, you get this sine wave, you get a peak and then you get a valley, and then you do your shot. And that went along for a while. But for me, the final thing was I did not get the benefit that a lot of people get out of that. It was testosterone cypionate. And I don't know, they say basically it's all that form ultimately. But I just didn't, it wasn't like, so I went to the doctor, and the last test I had with that doctor was 150, and I'm taking injections. So what happens, one of the things you talk about, you can't go back.
Right.
I've kind of gone back.
Yeah.
But your testosterone is no longer produced in your body.
Yep.
So now you're becoming fully reliant on this stuff, and it just didn't do it. I can't explain it. But his solution was, and this is the thing that I'm going to say, nobody ever. This was like I said, it was a test and a shot.
Yeah.
So it was just a walk right on in. Here we go, and so he said, let's double your dose and see what happens. Because the original time I took one,
right,
it shot up way beyond.
Yeah, it shot up, but you still didn't really recognize a difference in symptoms.
I can't say that I was like, I can really feel it. It wasn't like that, but it was way up. It was like 1,500 or some weird thing. It was up. Might not have been that high, but it was outside the bounds, outside the bounds. So he said, let's double the shot up. So I doubled the shot up, and the next day or the following day, I wake up in the morning and I've got this burning sensation in my calf, like someone stuck a hot poker in it. Now, this is my public service announcement. So I was working out, I was going down to the basement, and it's like I'm on the elliptical trainer, and I'm calling myself every name in the book. It's like I got like 3 minutes in, I'm just struggling, It's like I'm having, if you've worked out, I've worked out on and off for 45 years. You just kind of like, it's just a bad day.
Right.
So the next day I went to lift, still got the burning poker sensation. I went to lift, I couldn't lift. I did, so long story short, I went a week like that, trying to work out, burning sensation in my calf, and I finally got so aggravated with it, it was distracting. I called the doctor, and I said, I need to come in. So I went into the doctor. She said, "You need to get in earlier?" I said, "No, I think I'm fine. I just got this terrible pain." So I went in. I sat down in the chair. This is a true story. I sat down in the chair. The little nurse practitioner came in. She says, "So what's going on?" I said, "Well, it feels like I've got a red hot poker in my calf right here." And I'm poking to it. She said, "Anything else?" I said, "Yeah, I've been trying to work out all week and I have no wind." And you'd have thought I said I was radioactive.
Oh, wow.
I am not kidding you. She grabs me by the arm and she said, "Come with me." Went out to the desk, got a red bag that said stat on it, walked me around the corner to the lab, walked me right through the waiting room, right straight back to a chair, put me in a chair, and they pulled my blood. The next thing they did, they took me straight across the street. This is over at the old Jewish hospital. And through the waiting room to an ultrasound table. I mean, right straight past everybody. And I had a clot. And it turns out that I had what they call shower clots or something. I had clots all through my lungs. And the doctor told me, "You dodged a bullet."
Wow.
Now, what can happen with testosterone is it can overdrive your red blood cells. And apparently that's what happened. And nobody had ever told me that this was a possibility, that I might be flirting with something. I could easily have had a heart attack or a stroke. I had clots all over. Now, I will take this the next step further, because in case you would do this, because it is so prevalent, you turn on the radio and, man, you got low T, going
everywhere.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. It's a big industry. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's a big industry, and there seems to be, this is the magic bullet for a lot of guys. And there are other things that you should be doing before you do that, in my opinion. But they did try Clomid. They said, "Well, you're done." They put me on Eliquis for 3 months. I went off of that, and they use Clomid, which is for women and fertility, but off-label use is it can raise testosterone levels in men. So he said, "You can't do testosterone anymore. Let's do Clomid." So we did that. I was going to a hematologist or an endocrinologist, a different one at that time. And he said, "Let's check your numbers," and they rose. He said, "So let's double the dose." So I doubled the dose. It was a little pill. Doubled the dose of that, and 2 days later, I'm in the yard working. I was like, I know this feeling. I don't feel right. Went to Mercy North, and again, my lungs were full of clots. And I had a pain in my left, not as sharp as my right. So I was done. I was done. So here I had been on testosterone for 6-7 years, and now I can't do anything. And, the body has stopped making it for the most part. It's been a hard journey. I've gotten my numbers back up over 400, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I know it works for you and everything, but I know a lot of guys you're going to walk in the doctor's office and you're going to say, "I'm feeling lethargic. I don't have the drive I used to have. Things like my memory's not working so well," and it's so easy for them to say, "Let's do testosterone." I personally am on a mission to make sure you understand what the potentials are, and there might be other things you need to do before you do that.
100%. I appreciate that, because I've seen since I started, there was no such thing, at least in our area, of low T clinics.
Right.
Now they're everywhere. And the idea that you point out, like my doctor tested the heck out of me, right? They were an endocrinologist. They had a different protocol of how they did this. And now, I mean, I'm hearing this stuff. And if you take your first injection at the first day, it'll be free.
It's free.
And you're like, guys, so I think you want to be really, really careful about just jumping in. Again, I'm not saying all of these clinics are bad and evil, but as you said, it is a money-driven industry right now. The ladies have been doing hormone replacement therapy for years. A lot of that with menopause and things like that. And ladies were a little bit more familiar because of birth control and hormonal changes that they would take with those pills. And so us men were always kind of out in the dust. We didn't get that. And, but us men, we always said, "Oh, he's going through his midlife crisis." He's going, right? And so those were actually hormone issues back then, right? And so now we've seen, there is something that we can do. And so it's turned into a money industry. And I think, as you said, one of our big cautions has to be, you have got to go about this in a well-read, knowledgeable way, because there are high risk. And not that you can't go back, But it's not an easy trip back.
It's not easy trip back, and there's no guarantees. Once your testicles shrink up and become inactive, which is what happens, it may not come back. I've been fortunate that way. A lot of times it doesn't, at least to my degree. I'm not at 1,000. I'm not at 600. But I'm up at 60. I'm getting ready to turn 64 in a month. So at 400, 435, it's not bad. It's not. I don't think it's where I would want it to be optimally. Right. But I didn't get there on the other. So one of the things that we should talk about are some more of the symptoms. I know you've got a pretty good list. So let's talk about all the symptoms, and then I think we should really talk about some of the things you want to make sure you're doing, because there's in today's society with these medicines, there's the easy way. And there's the harder way, but maybe the better way, because there's other benefits to it. I mean, you can stick a shot in, but there's a benefit to exercise beyond just your testosterone levels. So let's
talk about some symptoms. So I work with men on a regular basis, and I will tell you, and this is not, I'm not a diagnostic doctor, but I'll hear guys will come in and they'll start going through as to what's going on with them, and my alarms start to go off. I'm like, dude, you're going through a whole list of low T things. Yeah. And so decreased libido or sex drive is a big one. Drop in overall energy, erectile dysfunction type things.
Which is every other commercial when it's not low
that's
T
the other one,
on talk radio.
Overall fatigue, where's my mojo? Where's my energy? Moodiness. And this is where the midlife thing. It seems everything seems to irritate him anymore.
It goes along with that.
I never find this in the list of things, but loss of interest in things or in my dreaming.
Yeah.
I used to always and why don't I like? I used to always like to play golf. I don't even care if I play golf anymore. I used to like to hunt. I don't even care
Motivation.
if I hunt. Yeah. And so loss of interest in things that you used to have. One of the things, another symptom, and I think this would be more, you'd be more aware of it if you had history with it, and that is strength training or strength building. You kind of know where you are in terms of strength.
Yeah.
And when you start going into the gym, you're like, I'm doing a fraction of what I used to do.
Yeah.
What happened here? Okay. And so that drop in strength, I noticed a lot in my hands and my arms, just trying to grab things and hold things. I was like, I don't have any hand strength. What happened here? So that was a big thing for me. Let's see. There's other things here, but bone density, increased body fat. One thing they'll say is that you gain weight. I did not. I lost weight.
Yeah, you've always been really fit.
Yeah, but and then I started losing weight, and I'm thinking.
You think it was muscle?
It was muscle mass. Yeah. I was losing muscle mass. Yeah, and I was like, well, I'm not even trying to. I'm losing weight here. So those are some common symptoms. I don't know if you have anyone on your mind or any symptom on your mind that I might be missing, but those are some of the red flags that I will see that I personally experienced, and I'll have guys come in, and my alarm goes off ooh, we might need to at least talk to a doctor.
Yeah.
And the other side is I might be trying to help a guy through a marital issue, but he's got all of these symptoms. And it's like, we can't work on your marriage until we get you healthy.
Oh, I don't really care.
Yeah, you're the guy who coined the phrase, I can't fix a broken thinker with a broken thinker.
I said, you can't fix a busted thinker with a busted thinker. Same thing.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, and so here I am trying to help a marriage, and I got a guy who can't get out of bed. You know, it's like, let's get you out of bed first, you know, and then we can talk about marital stuff. So anyway, those are some of the symptoms. I don't know if you have anything else.
I think that's pretty inclusive. I mean, and we probably should talk about, I don't remember, we talking about total versus free and all those things, but I'll just ask you, this is out of context to what the outline we kind of put together. Why do you think it's such a trend right now? What do you? I think I would say I know what I would attribute to, but what do you attribute to?
Okay, there's a couple things. I think one thing. I was just talking with a group of guys last night about this. The amount of sitting or non exposure to strength activities. you know, 60 years ago, I was out feeding the cows, right?
Yeah.
Now I don't. I sit and I sit. Even for a living, I sit.
Right.
And
Most
so,
of us are now these days. A
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
And your body is amazing. If you don't need it, it doesn't
Right.
produce it, right?
Right.
You lose it, or you don't use it, you lose it, that kind of thing. And so I do think in large part, the amount of driving, the amount of sitting, staring at screens, just lack of physical work, I believe is one of the, I'm a workout guy, right?
Right.
But I'm only working out 3, 4, 5 hours a week.
Right.
And so I'm just talking like I work out or I sit. At least back, even if you were an old farmer that never worked out, you walked all day.
Right.
You know, you picked up heavy stuff.
Through bales of hay. And,
Yeah. So I really attribute a lot of it to that. Again, that's just my opinion, but I do attribute the number of guys, even my guys who are construction guys. What do you do for a living? A builder, whatever. I sit on an excavator all day long, right? You're not like what I think of as
no, you're not hammering things, digging post holes and things like that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So again, that's my thought. I do think that we could go down a whole rabbit trail of the quality of food,
stress levels.
Stress levels
Sleep. Will do a lot of things you're talking about. Sleep apnea. You know, some of the things that people. This is going to sound, maybe it's off topic, but just being a mouth breather.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize the night, you know, when you talk about erectile dysfunction, things like that, you make nitric oxide by breathing through your nose. So, you know, you get overweight, you know, and that's a big one. We're more sedentary. We get overweight. You're not pushing your body. If you're exercising, a lot of people today, they go for a walk. A walk is good. I'm not saying it's not. But it's not the type of activity that's going to raise your testosterone levels.
Right.
So, you know, we talk about, we'll probably get to that HIIT training, strength training, you know, where you're looking at different things. But we just have such sedentary lives. And the water, you know, there's a big thing about that. There's a lot of hormones in our water if you're in a municipal water system. So there's a lot of factors. But I think the biggest one is lack of activity.
Yeah.
The lifestyle where obesity has taken over in our country and things like that. So
yeah. Let's just quickly hit the range thing, because if I do have a guy here who's like, well, what should I look for?
Right.
Typically, and my doctor never spoke about the free testosterone, and I've come to learn that they should be talking about that as well. But there's two different measurements that they want to look at, and one is the total testosterone, and this is the 300. And it used to be 300 to 800, but now I see they're pushing 300 to 1100 or so. But it's let's just say 300 to 1000 is somewhere in that range, and a lot of that has to do with just your own genetics. You might naturally be on the high side or naturally be on the low side, but that's 300. That's nanograms per deciliter. But so when you get your test back, they'll say, oh, well, you're in the 465 or whatever. That's what they want you in that range.
Right, and that's inside that range. And everybody's different. Some people will respond differently at different levels. So you may even have a low testosterone, but not have these symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, that's the tricky part of this. There's other factors that come, but go ahead.
Yeah.
The free testosterone.
Then the other one is the free testosterone, and the free range runs between 50 and 210, and it's picograms per milliliter. And so what free testosterone is, it's non-binded. So testosterone will bind to a protein, and once it's bound to the protein, it's stored in the body, but it's not floating around and usable. Yeah. So the free stuff is actually what's making you have the libido or having the strength or whatever. And so they also want to look at that. Well, how much you got floating around that's available to do the work that you need to do. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have come to find out that I always say, well, what's my total? And I say, well, what's my free? And so they tell, oh, your free's good. Your free's good. So, and I don't know whether that one fluctuates high or low faster than the other one. I don't know that.
But you know, other things that, you know, what you're talking about with your doctor is so good. I'm seriously, my doctor, we just did the testosterone test. And he didn't test me that often. I mean, it was just I was kind of on autopilot. But you should also look for other factors. A good doctor is going to test you for your thyroid function, things like that. There are a lot of things that can cause these things. Sleep apnea can cause a lot of those things if you have sleep apnea. So if you're snoring a lot and things. So you can be addressing something over here, but there may be another issue that you need to look at. So
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what we could do to maybe push the testosterone replacement therapy either off the screen or at least delay it? Like, what
Well,
are
let's
some
talk about what would be
natural
optimal
things?
for any man.
Yeah,
I would
as
say
far as things we could do
for any
Yeah.
man. I mean,
Yeah.
we live in what you said. We live in a culture where, and I'm guilty of it. Come home, turn the TV on after I eat. You know, it's like if I don't get myself up and go down and work out. Well, I mean, I've got such a long walk to my gym.
all the way down.
It's in the basement, you know.
Yeah,
And I've gotten to a point in my life where I used to work out for hours, you know, when I was bodybuilding, powerlifting in my 20s
Yeah.
and early 30s. But it was like, I don't need to do that anymore. I can be very effective in a half hour to 40 minutes.
Yep.
Very effective. So, doing these basic things are good. You know, one of the big things today is metabolic syndrome, and I'm flirting with that. Even with my, because I'm packing weight, I need to lose probably about 30 pounds. I'll be the first to say it. You know, I kind of lie to myself in that because I like the size and I feel stronger. I don't know. It's a myth. It's a myth because the muscle's
Right.
still there, whether you shed that weight or not, if you do it right. But doing these things is good for any man. But it will lessen the potential. You're going to lose levels of testosterone as you age. You're going to lose levels of muscle as you age.
Yeah.
But you can definitely slow that down to a much slower pace than what most people are accepting today.
Yeah. So one of the very first things is, let's just address that lifestyle thing. It's time to lift heavy crap, right?
Lift heavy stuff.
And so
the right way.
Yeah, the right way.
The right way.
Yeah.
I did a lot of stupid stuff that way for years. So
Yeah. So again, we'll go back to the idea of if you put a demand on your body goes, oh, this idiot wants to lift engines out of cars for a living, right?
That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah. But if you keep demanding that your body does things, as long as you do it in a progressive way, your body goes, oh, well, I guess this is what we got to do, and your body starts to prepare for it. And so I think it's important that part of my workout now, even though I'd like to do a lot of endurance stuff, especially in the training, and that I put in stuff that demands me to do harder stuff. So at least one day a week, I lift heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And what does that mean? Like, I don't do one rep to see how,
No.
but I'll put on 60, 70, 80% of what I can do. And I will take that to failure. Like, okay, I can't do this
Failure's
anymore.
important.
Yeah. Take it to failure safely, right, in good form, because you don't want to hurt yourself. That gets into another problem. So the idea that you start to push yourself to a place that you're not comfortable with, and your body goes, I need to dig a little deeper to get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the rules I learned when I was into bodybuilding, a guy named Bill Pearl, I don't even know if he was that big then. I mean, he seemed to be a big name. Most people don't remember. He had a philosophy, chase the pump. If you're not getting a pump, then you're not really working the muscle. And
Right.
I'd say if I'm spending a lot of years in gyms, I'd see guys come in. I'd say that this is just off the top. I'd say 60, 70, maybe even higher percentage of the guys are doing nothing that's really beneficial.
Yeah.
They don't really understand. So I would say if you know a reputable trainer, you know, like you, whatever the exercise is, but if you're going to lift weights, you should get with somebody. You know, you can be so effective. I see people come in and they talk and they do a set and they get up. It's like when I'm done with the squats that I do, I'm spent. I mean, it sucks everything out of me. I'm going to failure. I do 2 sets. That's all I do.
Yeah.
The first one's kind of a preliminary to kind of get everything eased in, and then it's a full out kind of failure. You're not going to see most people in gyms doing that. They're in there, they're doing something. It's completely ineffective. So when we're talking, and I'm going to say this too: see your doctor first, get a physical, make sure before you do any of these things. That's always something you need to know whether you can do this or not safely.
Yeah. I'll go back to what you said too about it's a little bit of time on task when you're in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, I remember early on that I'm going to work out. Well, that's 2 hours, you know, and you would get the pump and the bicep or whatever, and you walk around, look in the mirror for a while and talk to your buddies, you know.
Yeah.
And I am all about like bang for the buck in terms of efficiency.
Yeah.
Most of my workouts are a half hour. If I'm working out hard for an hour in the gym, that's a long workout.
It's a long workout.
Yeah. And so because we're intensity is really what I'm after, rather than just lifting something big and then walking around. A lot of downtime. So you mentioned before the idea of HIIT training. This is that high intensity.
Yeah, I haven't
training.
mentioned that on here yet, but yeah, you want to explain that, how that works?
So this is a little bit more of the idea too of pushing hard and then backing off. So like interval training, I'm going to hit something hard for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then I'm going to back off, recover a little bit, and then I'm going to come back at it again. And so it's that back and forth, back and forth. You know, what we know, you talked about before, like if I just go out for a casual walk, well, I'd rather you do that than just sit and do nothing,
right.
Okay? But
Walk
a casual walk does not put really any great demand on the body and in terms of improving it. And so what I'd rather have you do, rather than go walk for 30 minutes, go walk for 15 or 20 minutes. And what we like to talk about is walk really fast between telephone poles, right? Like, or between mailboxes.
Well, now,
or every, for 1 minute, you're going to walk really hard and intense, and then you're going to back off a little bit. And then you're going to bring it back up. And so what that does is it stretches your heart range. If I normally can walk and I stay at 115 beats a minute, I never really get better or worse. I never really improve myself.
No.
But if we're in a workout, okay, I'm taking that puppy up to 150 beats a minute, and I'm going to bring it back down to 100 beats a minute. And then I'm going to take it back up to 150 beats a minute. I've improved my range, and so my work capacity can handle that fluctuation. And that's where I just get overall health much better and much more effective.
Well, everything I've read on that too, you can get the more benefits from 5 to 8 minutes of HIIT training than you can from like an hour of running.
Yeah.
Your heart becomes more efficient because you're demanding so much of it. Now, I don't know, the first time I encountered HIIT training was 30 years ago, and I thought it was in, it was like 35 maybe. I was in excellent health, and the guy that was running the facility that we'd started at Cincinnati Margaret was like, I got this thing I want you to try. So he started me out with full burst on a Schwinn Aerodyne for a full minute.
Oh, yeah.
All out.
Smoked you.
All out. And I said to him, then I took a 2-minute rest, which it took that because I had spent everything. I said, are you trying to kill me? But so the HIIT training that I'm used to is that you got to be doing something that really, for that burst, is a full out deal. That's what I do, at least. And then it's a full out deal, and then a rest, and then a full-out deal. But you're not going for 20 minutes or a half hour like people say with aerobics. In fact, some studies show that if you do aerobics, it can actually lower your testosterone. So HIIT training has that for you guys out there. There's definitely a place for walking. Definitely. But if you're looking at testosterone and trying to recapture what makes you a man, I hate to say it that way, but that's, Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a lot on the exercise side of things. So start getting back, stress yourself a little bit with the heavier weight, with the higher intensity. Again, it's not about how much you do, like, everything I lift is going to be heavy, or I'm going to work out hard for an hour. It's more of going in and out of those things that makes your body go, oh, okay. It's like a switch. My body needs to do this. So it's important that you do that. Let's move a little bit to some just diet. Right.
Well, I'm not the best one on that.
Well, the idea, we know that when we pack on weight, fat, that we actually increase estrogen productions.
Yeah, estrogen levels go up as you put on. People don't realize that fat is a hormone.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, as a hormone producer, it causes that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and there's so many things that go along with that too.
Yeah. So just the idea that you really do trim back or watch some of your intake. And I think, where I've always gotten in trouble is what I crave, the carbs, right? Like starting to be more aware of, okay, you can't let that craving take over. This gets into a whole spiritual thing too. Yeah. The sins of the flesh, right? I just can't.
I'm guilty of gluttony.
Yeah, the gluttony side.
Serve me loose on a buffet. It's ugly.
Yeah. But the idea of just starting to eat better, mix in a lot more of the nutrients. I think if you try to supplement your way out of this, you've lost. You're not going to supplement your way completely out of this. Supplements can help, but if you really talk to anybody who's big in nutrition, if you don't get the diet thing halfway right, you can take all the supplements you want in the world, and you're not going to be able to supplement your way through it.
No, I would say the supplements have been, I think, key. That's what I attributed to me raising my testosterone levels back up. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they've played a role in that.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch on that just for a second as to what ones you have been using.
Well, yeah.
I think you mentioned this before, managing your stress.
Stress is a big one.
Yeah, when we jack up adrenaline and cortisol levels, those are good for emergencies. They're good for survivor periods of time. But if you have to prolong that, like if I'm a guy who's working 16, 17, 18 hours a week, I run my own business, I'm a control freak, I got to do all these things, your body will say, okay, well, this is what the idiot wants to do, and it'll do it, but it always comes at a cost. There's no free lunch here. Yeah. And so it'll pull back on your testosterone. All it's trying to do is conserve the energy so that you can keep burning the candle at both ends on the regular basis. And so there's three things I always go after guys right off the bat. You need no doctor to do this. You need eats, sleeps, and exercises. Eats, sleeps, and exercises. If we can we don't have to be fanatical. We just got to be aware and try to do these in normal ranges, right? And so if we can try to get those things better, we can avoid those 47-year-olds having massive heart attacks.
Yeah, sleep is the big one. If you, for years I would snore so loud, and we laughed about it, but I have apnea, and I'm going to tell you, the CPAP machine is so sexy.
I love the band. The strap goes upside the head.
It's. But it truly, that is there. It's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Heart disease, a lot of these people you see dying in their sleep, it's apnea.
Yep.
So it's putting so much stress on your heart.
Which losing weight can really help.
Yeah.
Sleep apnea.
Yeah. It helps with that. But as you get older, all this structure in here starts to sag.
Yeah.
Everything. So you can get it even if you're not overweight. If you're snoring a lot, you may not even be snoring. Yeah. But I would say, if you have some of these symptoms, that's one thing they should check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's work in. We've talked about weight. How about some of your supplements? I do play with some of them. Here's kind of my approach: supplements, right, wrong, or different. I will read about something and go, oh, that's kind of interesting, and I'll purchase it. I try to get a better grade, but I don't go spend a ton of money on that.
Yeah.
I try to get this is a reputable company, and then I kind of have a 3-month rule. I'm going to do this for 3 months.
And then?
And I'm going to assess it. And if I don't recognize any difference at all, now I'm not telling you this is mine, okay?
Right, this is you. Yeah. It's not scientific. It's just how you feel.
Because you can throw a ton of money at these supplements.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, yeah. And so I kind of have a 3-month rule. After 3 months, I can't tell you at all any difference at all. I'm like, no, that one is not really moving the needle for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my deal, but I don't know. What have you found?
Well, the ones I've noticed a difference with is ashwagandha. I take 4,500 milligrams of that a day. And I'm not saying that this is what you should do. I'm just saying that this is what I've done. Mm-hmm. L-arginine, L-citrulline. Those are two things that are nitric oxide producers that help from that standpoint. I take DHEA. And I take a supplement called DIM, but not heavy on that. 100 milligrams of DHEA a day, and there's others in there. I take CoQ10. That's one I highly recommend for anybody, especially if you're on a statin. You need to be taking that. There's several in there. I take grapeseed extract. I take ginkgo biloba. Those are both for circulatory things. And one of the things I'm concerned about is Alzheimer's, dementia. My mother has that. Mm-hmm. So those are things that help with that. B12, I can't remember the type of neuropathy. It's basically they don't know what causes it. And that's something, there's no reason for it that they could find. So that doesn't really have anything to do with this. I'm just going through my mind. There's several in there, but I will say this, there's a danger to supplements in this respect. So you're kind of wearing these things out. Supplements are not regulated.
Yeah.
So there may be, the supplements you're getting may be loaded. There could be lead in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you don't know where this is coming from. So when I'm saying this is a choice I've made from that standpoint to say, I'm going to go this route because I can't do the testosterone anymore. I feel safely, even though there was a doctor that I met with who said I could, and after so many said you can't. So you get conflicting information. So is it worth risking your life? I don't think so. So I've found that through supplementation, even though I was working out before when I was taking testosterone, that I've now got it up over 400. Okay. So there's a correlation there, I think. I can't say that any one of those I could point to and go, it did this. I've just kind of layered them in. There's others I've tried, Tonkat Ollie, different things that I've tried in there that, like you said, I just didn't notice it. Yeah. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I would say if you're going to work out, the one supplement that I can tell you with absolute certainty has had the biggest impact on me, and I take it all the time.
Caffeine.
Well, yeah. No, it's
creatine.
Creatine.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Now that's not necessarily going to drive your testosterone, but it will help you. It helps me to do the work that I need to do. I mean, it's like bolting on for me. It's like bolting on an extra set of muscles. There's a point in there where it's like, I know when I'm on it. I know when I'm not. Yeah. And it's like, boom, there it is. I'm going to go 3 or 4 more reps where I'm usually failing. Yeah. So it helps you do that work. So from that standpoint, it's a good, that's probably been one of the helpers indirectly. So anyway.
I do vitamin D.
D3, that's another one I take.
Yeah. I do some magnesium. I do zinc. Zinc is supposed to help with testicular function.
I take both of those. I forgot.
Yeah. I do creatine. And what was funny, my son the other day, my older son, he was like, "Dad, do you take creatine?" And at the time, I wasn't taking it because I cycle through some of these. Like, I don't take it constantly all the time. But he's like, "Hey, do you notice the difference?" And I randomly said, "Oh, no, And I went back. I was like, "What?" I just lied to him.
On the creatine?
Yeah.
Really?
Because like your daily function, it's not like all of a sudden you walk around and you feel.
No, it doesn't come into play like that.
Not at all. But I went. I was driving away from his house and I was like, "What do you mean you don't?" I can go back and look at my cycling logs, and when I'm into the creatine, just my ability to climb the hill longer, my ability to hit the sprint harder, it really shows. So again, like, it doesn't boost the testosterone necessarily, but it allows your muscles to go out and work harder and put that demand on the body. So anyway, and by the way, like
vitamin E is another one I take too.
You know what? I don't do vitamin E. Yeah. That's one I should maybe.
They say that there's a correlation there that it can raise it, but and all these too. I want to say all these have contradictory statements to it too. I mean, if you ever read the warning signs of vitamin C, it's sort of like those medical commercials. You would never take vitamin C, but this is what I have found. I'm not saying that works for everybody.
Yeah. Guys, we kind of shotgunned some of this, but I think our purpose here was to get the discussion at least going. For the negatives and the positives, right? Like, if there's no doubt that testosterone replacement can be extremely effective. It can work. It can maybe move the needle on some of the things that you were concerned about. But you really do want to take the time to educate yourself. There's lots of risk here. I think what I'm seeing with some of the younger guys, and when I say younger guys, I'm seeing mid-20s up to 40, who the testosterone hasn't really even significantly changed yet. They're jumping on board and going to these low T clinics. Right. And I'm just telling you, like, you're messing with fire, because it's hard to go back. Like, once you start to supplement this stuff, your body says, well, I guess you don't need me anymore. Yeah. So you really want to think long and hard about playing with these. I also think it's really important that you work with somebody who's knowledgeable and wants to keep you in safe ranges. And if you're not going through with the right mindset, if your idea is, I just want to get jacked and get as strong as I can, it's just an unhealthy thing. I can't subscribe to any of that. I think you're just playing with the bullet there in the gun. So today, truly, this is about is to educate you and say, hey, take an extra step, because you're going to walk in, especially if you answer any of those ads on the radio. Yeah, you're going to walk in, and their whole thing is going to be they're moving you toward that, because there's money in it. There's a lot of money in this, and I'm not saying that people are corrupt, and I'm just saying, and it's become the go-to. And I'll just say this.
I asked a doctor. We were out west, and I was on the path out there and ran into this Indian doctor, and we had quite a conversation. I said, what's the most difficult thing about your job? He said, the number of people that I talk with who don't do anything that I suggest that they do. So the doctor sees you come in week after week after week, and everybody wants the magic pill. Diabetes is on the rise.
Yeah.
Type 2 diabetes, obesity, what they call metabolic syndrome, all these things. And we keep looking for a pill or a shot in this case. Now they've got the weight loss things. There are other benefits to these other aspects that you need. And I just would caution you, do at least choose to do some of these we talked about.
Yeah.
Make a valiant effort at it before you decide, well, I got to go to this.
Yeah.
Some people who can't lose weight, no matter what they do, that shot's going to save their life, possibly.
Right. Yep.
But if you can do it otherwise, there are so many more benefits than just saying, give me a shot to fix X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. One of the things we kind of joke about is the number of things now that we subscribe to, subscriptions, because it's all on our credit card and it automatically is taken out. And so every $8.32 goes out every month, and I don't even think about it anymore. That's exactly what low T clinics become, because once you become attached to them, every month you are, I've got to have this for life, right?
Here we go.
Yeah, and this one's, you're not going to just stop the subscription, because now you got medical things that are going to happen to you, right? So you want to think long and hard. I would encourage first and foremost the diet, exercise, sleep, all that stuff. But I would say if you're going to get a subscription, get one to a gym and drive your butt there.
Yeah.
And
get a good trainer.
Get a good trainer. You don't. Some people need a trainer for life. I actually don't operate that way. I mean, as a trainer, I'm like, I need to just give you the tools. And I mean, if people use me for motivation, but I really want, come on, you know how to do this.
Yeah.
You can do this. Like you have your own personal home gym. I've always had mine. Yeah. But again, like subscribe, get a subscription to a gym.
A real gym.
Yeah. And
I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, and I was never one of those pretty gyms. I like the plate loading gyms, the rusty places, and because the guys that are generally in there are animals. People are looking, and they're serious. They're not going to tolerate you messing around, laughing, laying on a machine all day.
I'll joke. Subscribe to a gym where you can grunt. Right.
Yeah, but not scream. We had a screamer in a gym years ago. It's like they threw him out. He was a screamer. It's like, what?
I won't mention the franchise, but that thing that you can't grunt, I would never make it in there, because when you're going after lifting your heavy stuff, I'm like, it's all I got left
coming out. I would say though, it is what Merle said earlier. I've been blessed that I was able to rebound. That some things came back. Quite often, that's not the case.
Yep.
So if you go in and you are looking at this decision, understand that at some point, like with me, with the clots, you may be dumped out the backside of this thing, and now you'll be worse off. You're going to be worse off.
Yep.
You'll spend the rest of your life, maybe you're 60, 65 years old, and you've had a series of blood clots, or it's just not really working for you, or for whatever reason you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Then you are now going to be doubly worse off, possibly, when maybe you could have taken a different path. And I would just say, try that different path first. Get a physical. Mm-hmm. If you need a gym membership, get a gym membership. Find a good trainer, not some 20-year-old. I'm not saying 20-year-olds can't know what they're doing, but find somebody who knows, especially if you're older, how to specialize in getting you the best bang for your buck for the time invested. And you can do wonders in very short periods of time, relatively speaking. Yeah. And that'll have benefits in other areas of your life.
Yeah. All right, guys, hopefully the conversation at least gets you thinking. We want to thank our sponsors again, Quality Auto Mart, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and 4Speed on 50 Diner. Also, just thank all you guys for sharing the show, listening, and just, go out there and be a strong dad, both in your home and your community. We need more of you. Our society needs men who stand for good, strong things and are strong themselves. Yeah. They don't just get swept away in the latest fad or culture. So go out there and be a strong dad.
Thanks for listening.
Strong Dads wants to thank Quality Auto Mart and Service for being a proud sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Started in 1985 and going strong for all these years. Recently, Quality Auto Mart has transitioned from owners of Mark and Nancy Repke to longtime employee Fred and Lorraine Venus. For all your automotive needs and golf cart needs, check out Quality Auto Mart, located across from Indian Lakes on Highway 46 outside of Batesville, Indiana. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.